of those annoying scam calls we all get. Most of us, we just hang up, right? Maybe block the number. But what happens when a scammer, just full of threats and rage, calls the absolute wrong person? Well, this is that story. A story about a 2-year-long quest for revenge that all started with one terrifying phone call. Just imagine your phone rings. You pick it up, and that's the voice you hear on the other end. They're not just asking for money. They're threatening your family, your home. This wasn't just some random annoying call. This was a straight-up threat designed to make you panic. And that one call? It's what kicked off a 2-year fight for justice. So you have to wonder, right? Who was this? Was it just some guy having a bad day? Or was it something much, much bigger? That was the mystery at the heart of all this. Finding the identity of this phantom debt collector who was terrorizing people over the phone and getting away with it completely. See, the man who got that call, he wasn't a cop or a PI. He was just a guy named Andrew Terrian. And the people on the other end of that line, they were about to learn that they had messed with the absolute wrong guy. Now, Andrew Terrian wasn't some kind of vigilante, looking for a fight. He actually called himself a wife guy, just a normal dude. But when his family was threatened, something inside him just clicked. That protective instinct kicked in, and it turned out he had a very particular set of skills that were perfect for hunting down the people who made that call. So before we go any further, you gotta understand what he was dealing with. Terrian was the target of what's called a phantom debt scam. Basically, it's where scammers try to bully you into paying for a debt that's either totally fake, way bigger than it should be, or just isn't even yours. Their whole game is to intimidate and confuse you until you just give them your money. Okay, so instead of just blocking the number and trying to forget about it, Terrian made a totally different choice. He decided to fight back. He went, and this is in his own words, full hacker mode, using his tech skills to start a personal investigation that would end up taking over the next 2 years of his life. So how do you do it? It was actually a pretty methodical 4-step process. First, he started tracing the calls, kind of like following digital breadcrumbs through all their phone systems. That led him to step 2, figuring out the shell companies they were hiding behind. He dug through public records for that. From there, he started linking the actual people involved by cross-referencing names and addresses. And finally, step 4, he just meticulously built this huge mountain of evidence, piece by piece. And what's so crazy is how the whole thing just kept getting bigger and bigger. This wasn't just a couple of guys in a basement. Like Terrian himself said, it was a rabbit hole. The more he dug, the deeper and darker it all went. Every single clue he found just revealed a much more complex and frankly more sinister operation. And this is where we get to the breakthrough. After months and months of digging, Terrian started connecting all the dots. All these little fragments of information, names, companies, phone numbers, they started to come together to form a complete picture, a picture of a massive scamming empire. And this chart really shows you the kind of mess he had to untangle. I mean, look at this. The ringleaders weren't just using one name. They were hiding behind this whole web of fake companies. Terrian had to painstakingly map out who was tied to which shell corporation, and in doing so, he exposed the entire structure of their operation. And what was the end game for all this deception? This right here. $4.2 million. That's how much this phantom debt ring had managed to steal from thousands of people all across the country. That number alone just shows you the insane scale of their crimes. So here's the bottom line. Terrian's investigation proved this was anything but a small-time scam. No, this was a highly organized, sophisticated criminal enterprise. It had a clear structure, multiple leaders, and a very effective system for stealing millions of dollars from vulnerable people. So after 2 years of this relentless, solo investigation, Terrian had built a completely airtight case. It was finally time to hand it all over and watch the empire he'd unmasked finally face the music. This is the takedown. This timeline really shows you the direct line from his work to the result. It all starts at year 0 with that one threatening call. Then, notice that 2-year gap. That's all him doing his private investigation. But look how fast things move once he submits his super detailed report to the FTC. Just 6 months later, they launch a formal investigation. And within a year after that, federal agents move in and shut the whole thing down for good. And the victory was just total. The takedown that was based on his report wasn't just some slap on the wrist. I mean, their operations were permanently stopped. All the money they stole, frozen.
The ringleaders were actually charged with crimes. And maybe most importantly, thousands of future victims were protected.
So, what's the takeaway here? It's just this incredibly powerful reminder of the impact one determined person can have. Tyrion wasn't really out for revenge, not in the classic sense. He just wanted answers and he wanted justice. And his 2-year quest did something most people would think is impossible. It brought an entire criminal empire to its knees. Which leaves us with this question. Andrew Tyrion's story is proof that it's possible for a totally ordinary person to make an extraordinary difference. So, what does it take to decide that you're not going to be a victim? What does it take for any one of us to fight back?